On July 10th, 2025, we have the full moon in Sagittarius in Purva Ashada Nakshatra, and it's a time for connecting with God's grace, Guru's grace, because this full moon is also called Guru Purnima. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Many of these deeply embedded concepts are central to your life, and all of these major themes impact your life in many ways. And in fact, as it says here at the bottom, it says, what is your purpose or dharma? Understand Jupiter, the Atmakaraka, Saturn, the ninth house, because I'm also doing some quick readings, actually 30-minute deep dives into people's charts so they can understand their life purpose and what's called Svadharma. By far, the most common question I get is, what is my purpose? And so you can find out in these deep dive readings. And again, these things are all adjacent to understanding the themes of this full moon in Sagittarius. Now, again, it's also called Guru Purnima. And as it says here, the wisdom that wins out in the end is what Guru's teachings are. Now, many people are like, well, I don't have a guru. Well, actually, yes, you do, because you're believing in something. What is it? What is the wisdom, the thing that you really believe that wins out in the end? You may think you don't actually have a guru because you don't call it a guru. Most people in this day and age, especially a lot of them who follow astrology or who listen to me, their guru is this kind of hodgepodge of all of the stuff that they are interested in and they've figured out and kind of mixed with the things they already naturally believe, that we're all kind of spirit. And that's the wisdom that wins out in the end, right? Ultimately, this is what you come back to. Astrology and this and psychology and all of these things. This is the wisdom, and I'm not saying it's wrong. What I'm saying is this is what is up for scrutiny now. With Guru Purnima, this full moon that's coming on July 10th, it's really the time to see how much those teachings and those gurus, again, and you can take the personalities out of it, but how much those teachings and teachers and the wisdom that you've gotten is really either taking you where you want to go or taking you further from it. And as it says here, I have some subheadings. Are you drowning in dogma, or are you reborn through devotion? Now, again, most people would say, oh, I'm not drowning in dogma. No, I'm not drowning in... But again, understand what these things mean. Most people are drowning in dogma. And again, I'm not being critical. I'm not saying religious dogma like you're just a Christian, or, by the way, there's nothing wrong with being a Christian, or you're just, you just believe in some religion. Dogma just means that you just believe what you believe, but you don't really know how it works. You believe in it. It's not something that you practice, that is experiential. So again, understand these concepts very deeply. When I say something like the wisdom that wins out in the end, I'm talking about that you actually put into practice and that actually impacts your life. This is why things like what I mentioned about these readings and stuff, this is where it really comes into focus. And this is why people get confused, because they're like, oh, I know all about, let's just use astrology and this and that, and I know all of that. What they're really saying is, I believe in it. So, and then the next question is, so what's my purpose? So what am I here to do? So, and again, there's a disconnect here. Because if you knew it, like in your bones, and you applied it, then that would be the wisdom that wins out in the end. Right now, the wisdom that's winning out in the end is actually whatever you're doing in your life and whatever meaning and purpose your life has is based on what you believe the wisdom to actually mean. So you can believe in all of these things, but ultimately, what's winning out in the end is what you are actually practicing. So we can believe in all of these things, but really not be practicing them. And again, this is the Sagittarius Gemini axis. So it says, when Purva Ashada washes away the old, what will you stand for? So Purva Ashada, the Nakshatra, is ruled by the god Apis, which is the god of the ocean of love and devotion. This is why what I said about a guru, now, at the beginning, I wanted to make it very simple because, again, many people think, well, I don't have a guru. And I'm saying, yes, you do. Everyone has a guru. You believe in something and you believe in the things that you've heard from others and that you've applied in one way or another. There are different levels of guru, though. And of course, in Vedic teaching, in Indian teachings, and as you've heard me talk about quite a lot, my Satguru is the hugging Saint Amma. And it's not just someone who I believe. I don't just believe in her. I don't believe in Amma. I've been in her presence. I've seen the actions. I do the teachings that are recommended, and that is the wisdom that has won out in the end, and that continues to win out in the end. The only reason you've ever heard of me, trust me, is because I came across this being Amma. The only reason you've heard of me is because of that. Because if it wasn't for that guru and those teachings and that wisdom and the truth and veracity of those teachings, I wouldn't be doing my life's purpose. I would not be doing my life's purpose. This work. Because I wouldn't have had the confidence. I wouldn't have had the clarity. I wouldn't have had the devotion to the purpose and to my higher self. That's actually what what's called Swadharma revolves around. And it's why Guru's grace is the most important aspect of spiritual life and finding your purpose. Again, by far, the most common question I get is, what is my purpose? And again, this is from people who have been studying with me for 10 years or have been doing this forever, who even do this kind of stuff. What's my purpose? Is this my purpose? And they're confused because there's not devotion to the teachings or to the guru. And again, it doesn't mean the guru, like you have to, it's not a worship. It's just simply love. Just like people are devoted to their pets or devoted to their children. If you aren't devoted to the thing you're doing, then you're not going to keep doing it, for example. And it's not that I'm devoted necessarily to, like, if I talk about Amma, the guru, the person in the body, I'm devoted to the teachings, and I was always devoted to the teachings, and the guru is an embodiment of the teachings. And so when there's love and devotion for the purpose, then what's your purpose is an easy question to answer, because what's the purpose of love, for example, right? It's its own purpose. So I'm talking about these things in great detail because that's actually what the full moon in Purva Ashada is about. The Nakshatra is Apis. The Nakshatra deity is called Apis, which means the ocean. But ocean is a symbol of devotion and pure love. By the way, in the Krishna Yajurveda, in the Vedanga Jyotisha, they actually call the nakshatras by the names of the deities. So they didn't necessarily call this Purva Ashada, they called it Apis. right? So it's called Apas, which means the waters of devotion. So this is why this Purnima, this full moon that happens in the month of Ashad, usually happens in the sign of Sagittarius. It usually happens in this Rashi of Sagittarius because usually in the month of Ashad, the sun is in Gemini and the moon is in Sagittarius. Last year, for example, the moon was in Capricorn, but usually it's in one of the Ashads. That's why the month is called Ashad. And so usually the Nakshatra is either Mula or Purva Ashada with this Guru Purnima. So it shows this devotion. And the Purva Ashada Nakshatra is where, the symbol is a winnowing basket. Like when you sift through a certain, product, like when you sift and you try to separate the wheat from the chaff, as it's said. We need discrimination so as not just have blind faith, which is that dogma, because we want to believe, we want to have faith, and we naturally have faith in something. That's what I said at the beginning. You have faith in something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive anymore. If you totally lose faith and you completely lose connection to a teaching, you would kill yourself. So all of us have faith in something. All of us have a guru, a belief in something. And that's the wisdom that winds up winning out in the end. But again, question, what do you do? What is the wisdom that wins out in the end in your life? Is it something really worthy? Is it a high standard? Or is it some kind of man-made New Age teaching that half the time is confusing, that you don't understand, that's not even really that elevated, that's very much related to your own ideas and mind and ego? Or is the wisdom that wins out in the end, even when you make mistakes? Because, by the way, I make plenty, as many mistakes or more mistakes than than the next guy. I'm full of desires and problems and all that stuff. But the wisdom that wins out in the end is this higher wisdom because of those teachings. The guru is the culmination and the symbol and the avatar and the example taken form of what to emulate. This is why there's no greater appreciation in life than the appreciation that we have for our teachers, even your gurus. Think of the people that you appreciate more than any other. I mean, it could have been parents or whatever, but it would be because the parents were great teachers. But it's usually these great gurus where it's a debt that you don't feel like you could ever repay. And that's devotion. The devotion to those teachings only comes once you put them into practice, though. And then you see that come to life. So it says, when Purva Ashada washes away the old, what will you stand for? So this is a time to really evaluate your teachings, especially in this world now with all the issues and problems and difficulties and things we would like to change. So again, I invite you to also look at this reading that I'm doing. I'm going to talk about these major themes. I'll sum them up in a bit, but think about this reading, again, where I talk about very important touchstones in understanding your Swadharma, unleashing your purpose, which is very much connected to Guru's grace. I evaluate Jupiter, where it is in your chart, the ninth house ruler, also very important factors like the Atma Karaka, extremely important in how you show up on your purpose. I also analyze Saturn, which shows how you commit, and also where Jupiter is in the sky right now. Those are the things that I look at in that reading. So again, it's a half hour of me just drilling down into your chart. So you could check that out at careervedicastrology.com. So as it says here, the major themes for this full moon expand your vision and trust the bigger plan unfolding. You need to expand your vision beyond just what's right in front of you. Even the horrors of the world and all that, expand your vision and trust the bigger plan unfolding, which includes things that you've never thought of, that you've not considered, and that you have no control over. You know, these Indian teachings, Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma, which includes things like reincarnation, you know, Dharma itself means everything is in its proper place. Dharma is the truth and wisdom of the universe unfolding perfectly. Now, you might say, you meaning your separate mind and limited understanding might say, well, but this isn't right, this isn't good, that shouldn't be there, this is wrong. But you don't see the bigger picture. And as much as there's pain and suffering and all of this kind of stuff, we don't understand the bigger picture. So this isn't a way to be uninvolved or to be apathetic to the suffering of the world and things like that, but it's a way to contextualize the things that you don't know and that you have no control over. Because that's also true. You don't understand the bigger picture and you don't have any control over things you don't have any control over. But you can easily have attachment to those things and then lose yourself, your higher self, in the problems of the world. And that's what typically happens. Or the glories of the world, the beauties of the world. So these are the higher teachings. And by the way, this is why these things I'm saying right now, this is the wisdom for me that always wins out in the end. I lose myself in the world and the problems and the this and the that, but the wisdom that wins out in the end is this. And it happens concurrent. It's not one or the other. It's existent. One is existent within the other. So cleanse old beliefs that keep you small and stagnant. What are the beliefs that keep you small and stagnant? Again, and I'm not talking about ones where you're maybe concerned about the world, but I mean even about your own life. These beliefs that, you know, oh yeah, this happened to me and I'm a victim here and this person is wrong. Usually interpersonal, emotional things that are just keeping you stuck and stagnant. Especially in the sky right now, if we go back and look at the chart, we see we got this K2 Mars happening right now. In Leo, there's a lot of struggles going on, even interpersonally. Jupiter Sun in Gemini, you know, a lot of communication themes. Saturn is in Pisces, so there's a lot going on right now. Particularly this K2 Mars, there can be a lot of frustration, let's put it that way. Personal frustration with others, power struggles. They keep you small and stagnant, don't they? So again, maybe you hear these words and it's, you know, often people feel like I'm being judgmental, but again, I'm not judging. I'm speaking about myself as well. I'm in it just like you are. So I'm having to do these things also intentionally to not stay small and stagnant and worried and frustrated, right? Cleanse those old beliefs and patterns and habits. Rely on truths based on practice. Let it wash over those doubts like a tidal wave. Rely on truths that are based on practice. I said it at the beginning. You either have a lot of things that you believe, but you don't practice. You can believe in yoga, believe in meditation, believe it's all true, and I believe I'm the spirit, I believe. It changes nothing. Because the wisdom that wins out in the end is, what are you practicing? You can believe it all day. It doesn't change anything unless you practice it and you experience the self. You experience that true nature. It doesn't matter if you believe in it. This is why you see so much religious hypocrisy and hypocrisy in the New Age hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is everywhere because we mistake belief in something for actually doing it or knowing it. Belief isn't knowledge. It's just believing something. All right? So again, rely on truths that are based on practice because that's the only truth there is. The only truth in your life is what you have experienced. Again, that's not a belief. Prove me wrong. The only thing that's true that you actually know is what you have actually lived and experienced. You don't know anything except that. That's all you actually know. The rest of it you believe. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't mean that the beliefs are wrong, but the beliefs don't become real until you experience them. And then it becomes something real to you, right? So it sounds simple, and it's very easy to miss the simple language, simple concepts. But these teachings are the only things that really matter. Again, like people believe in yoga, believe in this, and then but they never do it, never practice it. It's like, I believe in sugar and ice cream tastes good. I really believe in it. Well, but it doesn't matter. Do you know what it tastes like? You have to experience it to know. Maybe you hate it, right? So, and then anchor your faith in something higher, then move forward fearlessly. So again, anchor your faith in something that's higher and worthy, not just faith in something that is easy or that is, cheap. Something higher that you've experienced. And then move forward fearlessly, right? And again, we can even see that fearlessness right now with this Ketu Mars and Leo. It's really a great time to make a lot of progress if we're able to do that. And, again, I have a great example, and I said it at the beginning. You would never have heard of me if it wasn't been for my Guru Amma. You would have never heard of me. One of the earliest teachings that I got in one of her satsangs, I'd only known Amma, I think it was the second year. And the first year I went, and I was very inspired, and I had been meditating for almost 20 years when I met Amma, so it wasn't new what she was saying and what was happening. I was just I really wasn't even that blown up with devotion yet. I was just kind of getting used to that there's a being who is alive, who is an example of these teachings. Because again, I would see her stay up all night, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just kind of starstruck a little bit. Like, there's a being who is not just teaching this, but living like in violation of the laws of physics, even staying up 25 hours straight, hugging people and stuff. That was crazy. But anyway, so my first retreat that I went to, there was a talk, and her main disciple, they call him Big Swami, was doing a satsang, doing a talk, and he said something, and it stayed with me. I thought of it today when I was walking on the beach, because I have some things going on. We always do. And I forget because I get stuck in the world. And I was walking on the beach today, beautiful day, and I'm like feeling so much gratitude. And I'm like, I feel this gratitude and this love, but then I kind of come back into my mind, and I'm stressed and worried about some things that are going on. And I remember it's the simplest teachings in the world, but it's like it says here, move forward fearlessly. Big Swami said, Amma is your guru. And if you do the practices, and you have faith, and you have devotion, and you do those practices, if Amma is your guru, you're a Satguru, and you've taken a mantra, you should be fearless, because there's nothing you cannot accomplish. Amma guarantees it. It's her sankalpa that whatever you want, you can have, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody, and there's devotion and action. You can't just sit there and believe, like the law of attraction, sit there and somehow it happens. No, you got to get out there and do it. You've heard of me as an astrologer, not because I just sat and meditated, because I wanted to do it, but then I'm scared because nobody knows who I am. I put myself out there. I don't want to look stupid and fail and be embarrassed like everybody else. I went through the same thing everybody goes through. But it's like, all right, but how much do I want it? Am I more worried about being embarrassed? Or do I really love this enough to risk it and fearlessly go out and do it? Which one? One or the other is going to win. You're either operating through love or fear. And when there's no Satguru and there's no devotion and there's no wisdom, fear wins out every time. Because fear is related to your ego. Love is related to dharma and truth and Guru's grace. And so, again, it didn't mean it was easy, but I remember those words today when I'm walking on the beach. I remember Big Swami saying, you should be fearless. And he's like, look at Amma. Amma is fearless. She's not afraid of anything. She sits there and she hugs everybody who comes in front of her. You know, people could come up to her with weapons or whatever. She's fearless. She's not afraid of any of it. She sits there. Amma is fearless. Right? This is why Amma is a guru. To me, not just fearless, but she's also the embodiment of compassion, vision, teaching, intelligence, fearlessness, everything you can find with the planets and their highest virtues. She embodies, she literally embodies it, like you see it unfolding moment after moment. And that's when I really started to realize that. And so the love and devotion to a Sadguru and a true teacher like this, and by the way, I say like this, there really isn't others like Amma. There may be a few other enlightened beings, but these enlightened masters, their ego has dissolved. So when you're in front of them, you're seeing purity. And you don't ever see it in any other situation. So you're seeing the embodiment of the Dharma and of the teachings right in front of you. You see a lot of people, but you don't see that type of person embodying all of those virtues, right? So this is why the greatest blessing in life is to find a guru. And again, sometimes, just to be honest, I didn't plan on talking about this, but sometimes like people call me guru, Guruji, you know. I say, look, I teach astrology, and it's fine if you want to use the word guru toward me, but I'm not guru in this context. I'm not a Sadguru. I teach astrology. In that context, it works, but guru in this context and of Guru Purnima is reverence for these transcendent teachings that gave me, that's given everyone a glimpse of their godly nature. That's really what's possible. That's who you are. There are beings that embody that. You can meet them, and you can, when you do meet them and you actually put their teachings into practice, not just believe in them. Again, I don't want to retread, but again, it's one thing to just believe it, it's another thing to do the practices. And big part of the practices is to get out there and do the stuff like I'm saying. Because all those practices aren't just say mantras. It's now get out there and do something with it. Now get out there and challenge yourself with astrology or whatever it is. That's also the teachings. In fact, that's the real teachings. That's the real part of the teaching, is to get outside your comfort zone, out of your ego. That's how you really put Guru's teachings into practice. Because that's really what the Guru is teaching you, is that you're not just this separate person with all these insecurities and hang-ups and fears. You're the immortal Atman. Stop worrying and being afraid of things and get out there and do it. Fill your heart with love and then express it in everything you do. And when there's Guru's grace, there's fearlessness, right? So, amazing time. And here on July 10th, like I said, on July 10th is Guru Purnima. Between now and then, ponder these things. As the moon moves, I'm recording this on July 6th on Sunday, but the moon's going to move through Scorpio. And then by Thursday, it goes into Sagittarius. And again, if you want me to take a look at your chart and see how these aspects of Guru's grace, vision, purpose, devotion show up in your life and in your chart, then I can also do that. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you soon.
For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.